Okay, this is going to be the first tutorial, and this is going to be a very quick and simple tutorial. I was wanting to go a little bit more advanced, but I was running into a couple difficulties and a couple things that need to be cleared up. So what I'm going to do is break this down into smaller chunks. So this portion is just simply going to be about connecting Chaos, Kessler's Chaos to Unreal, moving camera around it, building out the end display, the switchboard, launching it, and running it. So this is going to be everything you really need. There's some other cool tips and tricks and things that you can do, but we're not going to get onto that so much on this one. I just want to get people up and running to where they can get this and go. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is go ahead and open up Chaos. This is not going to be a tutorial on how to do Chaos. There's already good tutorials on that. This is just going to be about the Unreal integration. So anybody who's used Chaos understands that one of the first things you have to do is set your mark begin and ends. And it's kind of a pain in the butt, but you really do have to do it for this to work. So start out with each one. You know, for pan, what I do is I will take that slider and it looks a little bit different. It'll be shorter on here when you first start. And I'll drag it to the left and I'll move that camera and swing it 90 degrees to the left and I'll do mark begin. Then I will swing it 180 degrees so it's facing 90-degree right and do mark end. And then down in here, I'll put -90 and +90. And then I put, when I say go to 0, it should set it pretty much dead smack in the middle. Then you're going to do the same for tilt. Now in case of tilt, I'm only going -30 and +35. I don't need to go any further than that. My slider is 10 and 14. That's because it's only moving 2 feet total. However, my slider sits offset from the middle of the screen because I just don't have a lot of room over in this setup. So instead of -12 and +12, got -10 and +14. And that's a way to kind of offset that. You want to make sure that's set for inches. And tilt and pan are set for degrees. Planet, we're not going to worry about that one yet. That's going to be a different tutorial. So once that's all set up, then what you need to set up the Unreal portion. So you're going to go click on URE, and here this is going to be the IP of the computer that's going to be running that's the computer. That's this computer. So that's computer that Unreal is on. I'm sorry. So if you're using another computer, if you're running this on a laptop or a tablet or something like that, you're going to want to put the Unreal computer on here, and this is going to be either the computer that you're using to set everything up, or it's going to be the computer that you're running to use the end display. In my case, they're all the same computer, so I don't have to worry about the IPs. I can just use the home IP of 127.0.0.1, and that tells this thing anytime that it's looking for this IP to look inward. Look inward and find your inner Zen. So once you have that done, you need to build out your connections. So your connections your information's like right here. So this is pan. In fact, let's go ahead and pretend we're going to build one. This is a no connection. Say I want to do a connection for a lift. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say lift, and then the device name. So that's CS USB 1 CS1. That's down here. That is your Cineshooter on a USB connection, and I named this one specifically CS1. So if you have multiple Cineshooters on here, they'll show up, and you can pick it from this drop down. And then you just go ahead and name the axis, and they got things on here. So I'm just going to say auxiliary 1. We're going to call this lift, and then I'm going to take the camera ID function of 1, and then camera function, it's going to be Z position, and that's going to lift it up and down. And then I would need to go and make sure I have it built in here and all that too. So we're just going to go ahead and trash this, but that's what those things are for. So when you're setting up, one of the things that's really important is you look here. I can change the camera ID from 1, 2, 3, and it tells me what camera 3, camera 2, camera 1. Okay, I'm going to be using camera 1 for this. So we're going to go with, we have to set this up the same way that I'm set up over here. So with the pan, I did -90 and 90. For the tilt, I did -30 and +35. And for the slider, it was at -10 and 14. However, that's not what you're going to use here because we're talking centimeters to Unreal and inches over in here. So I'm using -40 and 40, and that's not quite correct, but it seems to work fairly good with this setup. You're going to find sometimes that depending on how things set up, there might be something that's just not quite right, and just a little bit of finessing can usually overcome that and get you where you need to be. But these should all be considered metric and degrees. So you're going to do that in pan, tilt, X position, Make sure they are all exactly where you want them to be, and they are all on camera ID 1, and that information's all right here so you can see it nice and easy. So once that's done, we need to go to Unreal and get ready to set up. So over here, we're going to go to a couple things first. One, you're going to go up to Edit and go to Plugins. You need some plugins. Look up End Display. You want End Display and Live Link over End Display, so click both of these on. Then you're going to go to Live Link, and you're going to want to click and make sure a Live Link is on, Live Link over End Display is on, and Live Link FreeD. This is the protocol that Kessler uses in order to connect to Live Link. All those need to be on. It'll probably have you reset. Once you do, go ahead and reset. You're also, oh yeah, Edit and Plugins. There's one more you're going to need. Switchboard. You want to make sure that's on. Okay, it's going to give you a warning. Just do it, or else it's not going to work. Once you have a switchboard turned on, go over here and launch switchboard. It's going to walk you. It's going to go through the process of installing it. This is just going to happen the first time you do it, and after you do it, it'll stay on there. I highly recommend adding the desktop shortcut, and also make sure you tick where it says Launch Switchboard Listener on Login, just to make sure that the switchboard listener is always running. That's what you want. Now that we have those set up, what I want to do is go ahead and get a camera, and let's go ahead and make sure we get this connection and make sure we got something moving. So we're going to go here and add. We're going to go Cinematic, Cinema Camera. We're going to put that little bugger over here, and then we're going to go over to Live Link. Now, if you don't have a Live Link tab, if it's not there, just go to Window, go to Virtual Production, and click on Live Link, and you'll get that. So what we're going to do is we need to add a source. So we're going to hit plus, and look at that, Live Link FreeD source. That's what we want. This is the one that we enabled in the plugins. So you're just going to go over and do add. And it's just going to be sitting there. And now it's just sitting there listening, ready to go. And also, this is incredibly important. You need to go into presets, and you need to save this as a preset. So I'm just going to leave it as new Live Link preset. Okay? And hit save. Now I'm going to want project settings, and you need to look up preset, and we're going to get a whole bunch of stuff in here. I'm just going to get some of that, knock it down a little bit. So this is what we're looking for, the Live Link plugin preset. So in here, so what this does is when you launch Unreal or you launch this level, it's automatically going to start that Live Link connection, and that's why you built that preset. So that needs to be in here. So now with this here, if you when you shut it down and turn it back on, it will automatically connect. So now we're going to go back over to Chaos, and I'm going to go ahead and close this. Let's move this over so we can see things a little bit better. Kind of crowded. I'm going to go hit connect, and boom, there it is, receiving. And you see camera 3 and camera 1. That's because these are attached to camera 1, and this one is attached to camera 3. We're not going to worry about camera 3 right now. So now we actually are connected. And if I want to test to make sure it is receiving the information, I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to test. And you see these little lights here turn green? That means they are receiving information. So cool. We have the connection between Kessler Kos and Unreal. Now we need to attach that to a camera. So we're going to go into the Cinema Actor Camera 3. We're going to add Live Link. Well, I'm just going to type in live. That's all you need. Live Link Controller. Now you see down in here, we get these new fields. And you're going to go to Subject Representation. And you're going to select Camera 1. Now you see, it's where to go. Moved. Darn you. Why are you way over here? Don't worry about that yet. It's not a problem. But I do want to demonstrate that now we can move the camera. So I'm going to bring up Chaos. I'm going to close this window up. We're going to put on Pan. And you see, the camera pans. If we go to Tilt, the camera tilts. Sorry, there's a timer that goes off every like 10 minutes in my studio. Okay. So, and then if we go to Slider and we move a little bit, we know that it slides. So we have communication of the camera. But it's stuck here in the middle of the screen. That's not going to work. And also we need the end display. So we're going to go ahead and move on to that portion. First thing you want to do is go into your content browser down here. And when you first start up, if your content browser isn't showing up, you can go to content drawer, and you should just be able to dock and layout, and it'll stay there, right? And then your screen, this will be big and you have to mess with it, but whatever. That's a different tutorial for someone else. So once you have your content drawer and you're just in your content area, you're going to do a right click and you're going to look for end display. If you don't see it here, that means the plugin's not activated. So go activate it, and then we can come back. And then you go over here and hit end display config, and we're going to create a new one, so hit finished. And I'm not going to bother renaming it because I don't see a need for it with my purposes, but you can if you need. So double click this, and then this is your end display. So over here, this little ball here in the center, that's your camera position, okay? Remember that. Because right now, this thing is not in the right spot for the camera. It's not going to be set up for you or anyone. It's just a convenient holding place for when you first start. So I'm going to go ahead and restore that to its 0 point. But my camera isn't pushed up against the screen, right? So we're going to take this display, and I am going to move it back 80 millimeters or 80 centimeters because that's how far it is away from my camera sensor. Okay, I measure from the sensor to the screen, 80 millimeters. And then I need to make sure I have the correct size. So I know this is wrong. I have the scale locked in, so all I have to do is modify one of these. And I know that I'm 122 centimeters wide, gives me 68 centimeters high. That is the size of my 55-inch TV that I am using on this project. So now we have that. What we're going to need to do is come in and build in in-camera VFX camera. So add, and then go to IC VFX camera. And see here, it's looking for a cinema camera actor, but we're not seeing it. It's right here. We can go ahead and select it now, but I'm not going to. I'll show another place that we can select it. But if you want, you can go ahead and pick your camera right there. Okay. So now that we have the camera, I want to build the cluster. Now the cluster is what's actually going to generate the end display. Many people, depending on the size of production, you might have a different dedicated PC for each wall, LED panel, or however you do it. In this case, I don't. So I'm going to do add, new cluster node, and this will be the PC that would be running the end display. And in my case, it's the same PC. So I'm going to use the home IP, so I don't have to worry about digging up the IP on it. And if something changes with like the addressing of my own internal network, I don't have to worry about this IP changing and causing me a problem. So I'm going to go put it in there, and I want to do 4K. And then I'm going to hit add. So now you see we got this new window down here, and we go over to VP. And from here, we're going to go to the projection policy, type from simple to mesh, and mesh to end display, and boom, there it is. Okay, so now if I go to the camera and I start messing around with it and moving it, you'll see that that little window in there moves with it. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking for, is the window within the window. So this is all we really need in order to set it up. So I'm going to hit compile, save, kill this, and then I'm just going to drag this guy out in here, and I'm going to put it somewhere where I feel I'm going to be able to see all kinds of neat shit. So here we are, and now we also have the cinema camera, and I want to tie the cinema camera in with this. So as you can see right now, and I'm going to go into the cinema camera, we're going to go to live link controller, and we're just going to get rid of this live link controller for the moment. That way, because it's setting positional data to the camera. So now I'm able to move the camera wherever I want. So, I can move it over to the display, but that's not really the way to do it. What you want to do is you want to grab the camera and make it a child of the end display, and that's going to anchor this camera's 0 point with this camera right here that you see. So if I get rid of this and click on here to set the location to 0, there we are. Looks great. Okay, but now if you look with the live link controller, we're going to go ahead and set this up to camera 1. It jumps up. This is a bug that they're working on. So I'm going to show you how to fix that if you run into this, because it shouldn't jump up. So we're going to do that really fast. You're going to go in here, and you're going to go into your Unreal Engine, and we're going to change all of these to camera ID 2. And you see it's 2 on all of these. And disregard this one. We're not using it right now. So we have 2, 2, 2. And then I'm going to stop this. I'm going to turn it back on, hit connect, and then close it. And then it should move the camera if I move the... well, no, it's not going to move the camera yet because I don't have that port put in. We're going to go back to the camera. Okay. And we're going to go to live link controller, and now we're going to change it to camera 2. Now see that? It's where it's supposed to be. When you change it to camera 1, there's a bug right now that's kicking it 124 centimeters up. If you look at the camera and the location, you'll see it's 124 centimeters. So they know about it. They're working on it. So if you're doing it, you run into that, don't worry about it. Just set all that to camera 2. Go into live link controller. We're going to be doing camera 2, and then we got it sorted. So now if we move the in chaos, we're going to go to pan, and we're just going to shift it around a little bit. You'll see that it moves. But what you don't see is anything happening on the display. So why not? That's because this has still not been associated with the in-camera FVX camera. So you see, remember this part where I said we could choose it there, but we're not. I'm going to go ahead and choose it here. You could have done it there, but now we're going to do it here. Now, if we go in and go to chaos, and I start moving, that window starts moving on there, and that's what we want to see. That is the end display. Now, a couple things to keep in mind of when you first start on this, the Cinema Camera Actor, you got a lot of stuff you're going to want to go in and set up on here. So right now, I've got a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera on here, so we're going to go to Super 35. And then for the zoom, we're not going to do any of that. Manual focus distance, if you want to change where it's currently focused at. So you can see here, watch this. As I change that, it'll change what the camera sees. So it'll create the depth of field that's expected. I'm just going to go ahead and put this back and keep it at like 1 billion. Then over here, you're going to put your current focal length. I am actually at 24. And watch what happens to this screen when I click that. It gets bigger because it needs to present a larger area. My current aperture, I'm going to go 5.6. And you want to put this information in here. So that's really all you need to get on here. There's a lot of different options, and absolutely spend some time playing around looking through this. You'll even find that there is a vignette that's annoying as hell. Here we go. Vignette size, vignette intensity. If you want, you can see that it creates a vignette in here, and I don't like that. I like to get rid of that, because if I'm going to have a vignette, I want it to be from the camera, not someone that's simulated from here. But other than that, we're pretty much in really good shape to keep moving. So we have our end display, and you can always take this end display and move it. You just go click on the end display, and if we want to move this somewhere else, like say we want to put the position over here, there's something else we want to see, we can put this wherever the heck we want it, and the camera follows it because it is a child of the end display. At this point, everything's pretty much ready to go. Unreal is moving through from chaos. Now the one thing to notice on here, if I move back and forth, you see how fast this moves, but the camera is not moving in real world nearly that fast. It's showing it where you're telling it to be, not where the camera is. But when you're running a move and you create a live move and play it back, it will work properly. So let's just actually go and see. Can we do live movement? So right now we're waiting for it to get to its spot, and then I'm going to run this move. And see, this is what we're seeing. So this is what I want to see on the TV next to me here in just a second. But just wanted to show when it's running live that that's kind of how it works. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this. And let's go ahead and get that set up on the TV. So the next thing you're going to want to do is go to Launch Switchboard. And you're going to want to bring this in. And this is going to be a part that's kind of annoying. Let's just go ahead and delete this entire config. I'm going to do this from scratch. So this is the last configuration I've been playing with. And when I launch a switchboard, it defaults to the last one that I've been using. So all I have to do is launch it, and then I just hit OK. Then I need to make sure I have the proper map. In this case, I know mine is the main/vprod projects map/. That's the one that I want to take. But whatever map or whatever level you build, you're going to want to make sure you have it there. Then you're going to want to go to Add Device. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add first an editor. So I'm going to go Unreal. I'm going to say Editor. 127.0.0.1. Now, if you are using another machine, a third machine as the editor, you would have that machine here. And then I'm going to add the end display. And all you have to do is hit populate and hit OK, and it should show up. So we should be good to go. You hit this and both these will... Okay, well, they will connect. So if I need to launch the editor, I click it here. If I need to launch the end display, I kick it here. The one thing to keep in mind is if you might run into a such scenario where you have an editor running and then you launch the node for the display and none of the moves are capturing over to the display, that's because you can't send them both at the same time. So you'll have to shut them both down and then relaunch the node. I'm not going to relaunch the editor because there's no purpose to that. And in fact, I'm just going to save this real quick and we're going to shut this down. And then what I'm going to do, through the magic of this program, okay, this display here, this is my TV display, all right? So what I'm going to do is we're going to go in here and I'm going to launch this node. And it might take it a moment to launch, especially the first time, especially if you just rebooted the computer. Because Unreal seems to like bring up a lot of data and cache it and hang on to it. And then that way you can flip back and forth between the display and end display and all that. And it all works pretty quick and easy. But the first time you launch it, it might take a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the Windows button to retrieve my, what is it? Where's my cursor at? Okay, here it is. Here's my cursor. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this recording thing over here too. Just so I can get out of the way and verify it is doing what it's supposed to be doing. All right, so as you can see up in the corner, we got the display, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring up Chaos over here and try to do this in a place where we can see this. Okay. Now, as I move the pan, see that? The display move? Haha! Freaking awesome, huh? That's it. We go to tilt. Same thing. Once again, it's waiting for the camera to catch up. Slider. Same thing, it's waiting for the camera to catch up. And that 40, negative 40 on there I have is definitely wrong. It's just, I need to tweak it. I just need to find out what the centimeters are and get that set up. But I'm going to go ahead and then do this. We're going to do load, this last move. And then we're going to hit go. You see it's moving. So this computer I'm doing it on is like a Ryzen, I don't know. It's not the fastest. I mean, it's probably about 4 gens ago, and it's a 1080p, or not 1080p. Yeah, 1080 GeForce GTX 1080 graphics card. So it's enough where it works pretty decent on this. It's excellent for stop motion, but you're going to want something a little bit quicker if you're doing the real time. It's just probably a good idea. But the point is, you can see that on this display over here, that it's moving as the camera moves. So that's really what you got to do. A couple other things to keep in mind when you're doing this. Let's go ahead and shrink this down. When you're setting up the display, so this is my setup display, this is my little monitor, and this is the big TV. I got it set up at 4K and all that, but you're going to want the screen that you want this to show up, you want to make that your main display. Because if you don't, when you launch it, it's going to launch onto the wrong display. Now, there's ways around that, but it's kind of a pain. I just don't know if I really have time to get into that right now. We can do that as a more advanced thing. But you just make your main display, the display that you want this to show up on. And make sure that you have all your stuff is right, you know, 100% scale. So if, sometimes it'll be like set at 150 or something like that. So if it's not the right size, set at 100%, make sure your display resolution is correct. And that's really it. That's really it. This is how you set up with the end display. So if anybody has any questions, you can always reach out to me. My name is Chris Field. You can reach me at chris@biolabs.com. I'm always happy to help out. Anyway, I hope this was useful, and thank you very much.